and welcome to Elevated Mindset. My name's David, and here we have
Austin.
What's up? All right. This is the first day we're doing our intro, man. Is our intro finally live? It should be, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited. Okay.
Check it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty
We're
fresh.
we're excited to be here.
Pretty fresh.
We got some topics on the docket. I'm just putting on blast because I don't think we did.
No.
I have some stuff I want to talk about, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
I mean, sort of. We'll just roll with it.
What do you got?
Topic of healing, bro.
Ooh, okay.
But we'll start with you.
No, I like that one. I kind of just want to go with that one.
You like healing?
Yeah, mine were way more external stuff,
External, like how?
like AI.
That was the topic?
Yeah,
AI?
yeah. So two
I
different
like
things.
it. I mean, like AI in today's world and like how it's
Yeah.
affecting people, or
Yeah.
how we as men have to just fight robots.
More or less.
I mean,
What's I think a good way to it'd be like healing AI. It's like, dang, what a
healing
podcast.
versus AI, you can't have both.
No, yeah.
Now I'm curious what you have to say about AI.
Sure. We'll talk about it. But healing.
I mean, I feel like it's just been more prevalent this week for me, like
Your personal journey.
my personal journey. And so, like, since the last episode, right, we've gotten a lot more clarity on maybe the direction of the podcast, the mission, the who we're looking to help, right? And so I think through that process, while it's provided clarity on that, I think it's, just really continuing to do that internal work, myself, right? And therapy and just making sure, because I think it's easy, especially in the season of life that I'm in, right? To cling to the next thing, and force my body through it, or force my mental state through it, force my mental health through it. Like, no, come on, we got to get going, right? We got to be here. We got, there's things to do, people to see, right? There's all these different, right? I think it's just kind of been a prevalent topic in my, in my personal walk, right? Where it's that, that stillness with the Lord, and really being still in His presence, because that's something that I've struggled with. And it's like it's a practice.
It's a muscle.
It is a huge muscle.
You're talking about just like kind of sitting there and
Right. And sometimes just not even saying anything, because my brain inside my head wants to tell me, oh, you have to say the right things. You have to, you have to do the right thing, right? I'm a big journaler, right? And so there's times where I get so caught up, right? And, oh, I didn't journal enough today, or, like yesterday, right? I didn't journal at all, but I sat there in the presence, right? I kind of had, some Devo time, and then I just, like, okay, God, like, I just, I almost caught myself, in my head, was trying to, like, talk to God, right? And I think that's a pretty common thing, right? It's that topic of, like, you can pray all you want and pray, request. But then it's that sitting in the silence, right? Allowing Him to speak, because He does speak in a still, soft voice, right? And so for me, it's just been kind of tuning into that. And, I think it's been great that we've done some vision casting, we've done some goals, we've done some thinking of the future. And I just know for myself, I have to really be intentional, because I'm so quick to
move on to the next.
And pull my body through it, and not really allow myself, right? If I just go on to the next thing without, allowing that healing, right? And then that's kind of what I've been, talking about for the last couple months, right? Even at that conference, and, the Lord's saying, hey, we gotta work on what's in here, right? And so just really drawing that out and allowing okay, God. And just that kind of stillness has been something that I've really tried to implement, at least this past week.
I think the biggest thing you can tell yourself during that time that's gonna mess you up is I don't have time.
Right.
Like that. So they did like a social experiment a few years ago, and they invited like this monk, like a pastor, this like basically like religious leaders in different groups, right? And they did an experiment, right? And what they did is before they went on stage, like as they were being called up, they had someone trip in front of the stairway that they had to walk up to the ramp to get to, but it was behind a curtain so nobody could see it. And like trip and like they spilled stuff everywhere.
That was intentional.
It was intentional. And all these religious leaders were in a room, so one by one they did these tests, and not one of them stopped and helped. Not one. But when they asked each one why didn't they? Because they said one thing, it was consistent. Because I didn't have time.
Had to be up on stage, had to do this.
And so when we tell ourselves that, like a lot of times when it comes to healing, right? When it comes to you working on yourself or just there's so many things. It's that healing aspect. It's that doing what you feel like God's calling you. It could be a career, it could be a business, it could be like so many different things, right? It could be that healing, it could be spending time with your family, it could be so many different things. The number one thing I think that's always going to get in the way is going to be not feeling like you have time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I remember sitting there like, you know, trying to really kind of spend that intentional time, right? And then, you know, I remember like my watch pinged or my phone, you know, and then I saw the time, right? And then it's easy to, oh shoot, I have to get going. I have my commute, you know, and then, you know, it's easy to start to do that. But I mean, it was a conscious effort. Like I had to sit there like, no, it's going to be okay. I'm just going to do 5 minutes, right? Or 10 minutes or you know, however long I did and just choosing that. I know when I've done that in the past, regardless of whether maybe I was, you know, late or not. In most cases, I'm really not that late. It's just going to be late. And then the day, I mean, just the outcome of the day, when I choose to do that in the beginning, is night and day.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. It's getting your mind right. I had a coach and I was super blessed to be around him and they said something that like really hit me. Well, he said something, but this kind of the way I interpreted it was really cool. It was, if you have crap on your hands, everything you put in your mouth is going to taste like crap. So it's realizing your mindset is everything. Like today is just a blank slate, right? You're going to decide whether it's good or not. Now there's going to be some things thrown at you that may not be good, but we still got to go ahead. Like you decide still at the end how it's going to play out.
It's a choice.
Like you put 100 people through the same thing, you might get 100 different reactions. Some people are just going to fall apart. Some people are going to rise to the occasion. Some people are, you know, but it's up to you. But if you don't get your mindset right, you're already behind the 8 ball when it comes to it. I even hate saying that, behind the 8 ball. That's such like a weird way, like of how we look at life. That's
Well, I mean, I think everybody's trying to get that, you know, like that's why that little magic 8 ball exists, right? Should I do this? No, you know, and it's just like people want to be led, right? You want to be.
I think we spend too much time, dude, in thought, honestly. Like not in a bad way.
Right.
We almost psych ourselves out. Like that's what it is. Life is a series of yes, no's, and let's go's. So when you overcomplicate it, you're failing before you even start. Like I've always believed this. God can do more with a heart that's willing to listen and move.
Right.
Like go be willing to be wrong, but always have this right. Because here's the thing, right? And I felt this way, and I've been talking about. I'm putting myself on blast a little bit by saying this, but it's if you could be right and not move. You could be right. You could be asking God, tell me what to do. Boom, right? It's this. Ooh, I don't like that. And you're not going to move a foot.
Right.
And you could be like, Lord, just correct me as I go, please. That person's already moving. A car that's like standing still is so much harder to get going. So for me, like if I could tell anyone, and obviously it's more personal to me, but it's move, 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 and be willing to be wrong. Be willing to be wrong. Because that person's already moving. Right? But you could know and not act. That's the thing. And as far as time goes, that's like the biggest thing I think for me personally. It's been this realization: time is just so construct. Like what's happening around the world nowadays, if you really sit down and listen to the good news box all day, it's always going to terrify you. That's its job.
The good news box?
That's what I call it.
What is that?
The TV.
Oh.
It just spits good news in.
The
Yeah.
good news box. I've never heard of that. I love that.
But what it is, here's the thing people need to realize, okay? Let's say we go to war, let's say whatever's happening, right, with COVID or anything, dude, if you follow it back, there was always a flavor of the week. There was always something you should be scared of. There was always a reason why you shouldn't start a business. There was always a reason why now's not the time to do this. Now's not the time to do that. There's always something. There's always something. It's kind of like this, like fear factor, right?
Right.
You catch your breath, and like another fear, catch your breath, another fear, catch your breath, another fear, catch your breath. Like it's always this flavor of the week.
Well, wasn't it during COVID that the guy from The Office, like, he started, it's called Some Good News, because he felt like it was, like, every time he turned it on, it was just something bad. So
Yeah.
he literally started this from Zoom. On his, like, you have, like, his children drew, like, a little thing, and he would just start streaming and just saying good things that happened, you know?
But your
because it's
mentality
so bad.
is what matters.
Right.
So it's realizing that there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something. And here's the thing, right? We always kind of talk about this in between us, but it may have caught you off guard, but it didn't catch God off guard.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
if you're
that's been resonating with me a lot.
dude, if you're being called to do something and it's during the season, God knows. Like God knows. Like He's not. It's not like that's always what makes me laugh. And I have to joke about this to myself, but because I do this, it's like God, I can't do that. Like, are you like there might be a war or whatever? And God's like, oh, there is. Oh shoot, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Let me get back to you. That's not how it happens. It's like, no, I know.
Right.
Dude, when I started my business, right, my first one, it was during COVID. It was like right when COVID launched.
And majority of your business is going door to door, right?
Yeah. No. You know what's so funny, dude? It ended up being such a blessing. When everyone, it's kind of weird, but I kind of like when things go bad. Like on a personal level. And I'll explain though, because people are predictable. It's like a weight blanket for me when it happens. Because everything's predictable. It's the easiest thing to say. In stocks, it's the best time to trade. Like when there's bad news, because you know which way the market's going to go, so it's easy to make money on it. In business and just people, right? It's the same, dude. You spray people with enough good news, right? They panic.
You spray them with enough good news, they panic?
Yeah, I joke. I call good news bad news. Okay, I'm just gonna be more direct, Chris, because someone's out there like, good news,
I
got
was like, wait a
it.
second.
No, so here, you know what's so funny, dude? Starting COVID ended up being one of the biggest blessings. Okay, so here's what happened. When everyone else was freaking out, we were able to go in. It wasn't intentional, but it's just how it happened. Like basically, my life was so falling apart for years that finally, when I just decided, I didn't care about my environment. I just decided to do this. I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to go. And so then we started, right? And then here's what happens. Because of COVID, so many people canceled on their leases when their offices. So many. So we got our office.
Businesses, right?
Businesses, yeah. We got our office dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. Especially now compared to today's market. The office that we used to have compared to now, it's 4 times the rent within like 2 years, 2.5 years. But we got it cheap because when everyone else was panicking, we were like, let's go. Let's go. But this is going to be the same way. Like whatever happens, it's not this illusion of time. And here's the thing that's so funny about time. Time is given to you. That's so funny. Like I had to think about that a few weeks ago, dude. Like I really got hard stuck on that. Think of how wild this is. God gives you time. Like that's the wildest thing. Time is such a gift because you just don't know when it stops. you could be super, super healthy, right? Now, there are things you could do to extend your time. I really believe that. Like, it's not just a super random thing. But at the same time, you can be super healthy, right? Get hit by a bus. Like, and I'm not even talking trash about being healthy. You should. Like, even for me, that's something I'm starting to really prioritize because it's important.
Right. Well, and I think that there's something there too, because it's like, I mean, you've heard people talk, and I know like Tim Ross has like mentioned this on his podcast, right? Like if you know, if I said to you, hey David, you know, you want $1 million, you're like, absolutely. Right? And then, you know, you probably see, you know, cheer up and, you know, or even the average person, right? It doesn't have to be you. Right? But then you go, okay, well, the only thing is you get the $1 million, but you die tomorrow.
Yeah.
But, oh, no. I don't want that. You get the $1 million or you die tomorrow or you stay exactly the same way you are now. Right? And it's just showing you wanted it now, but then when you know it's confined only within the next 24 hours, right? And that you're done tomorrow, that further emphasizes that time is truly more valuable than money.
Yeah. It's just be wasted. Not wasted, just
right. But I mean, I like what you said, right? Like it's good to take care of your body, and it's good, you know, it's good to take care of your finances. It's good to, you know, want to be successful. It's good to, you know, all these things, right? But if something were to happen tomorrow, none of that would come with you. And I think it's a heart posture, you know, and
I think majority of us are making decisions based on not the best state of mind. Like that's the reality. So let's purposely calm down the area, right? So when you have conscious fear, when you have conscious, and it's so funny because even when we look back at it biblically, it's so repetitive how it's always like, do not fear, you know, don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry, I got you. Like it's just this constant thing. Old Testament, New Testament, just always throughout the Bible, it's this, hey, stop being afraid. And so here's the thing, when we look at the science nowadays, right? God knew what our bodies need. When you activate a high state of stress, fear, all these things, you activate your fight or flight. Here's what's so interesting about that. When you do that, you're not fully conscious anymore. Your fight or flight is designed to take action, not good action, just action.
right.
So if you ever hear yourself, and this is a really good way to know, okay, because you don't know what you look like. That's the funniest thing about life. Like you don't know. Like right now, I know better what you look like, and you know better what I look like. So a lot of times when you're in that mindset, you have no idea, right? So if you start saying, "I just need to do something," that's a warning bell, man. Like if that's where you're stating from, it's like I just need to do something. That's like, dude, your fight or flight is probably activated, right? And the science behind it is 60% of your brain is no longer conscious because what it does is it shuts down. It purposely shuts down just so that way you can get a action faster.
Right. It shuts the things off that don't need to work so that it can focus on the things that do.
Right. But it's not designed to get you a good idea. It's not designed to get you it's just to get you to act.
Action. Right.
Right. Because your body doesn't understand the difference of like, oh, you're being attacked by a bear, or oh, you're just being overwhelmed by your schedule. Like it responds the same. It doesn't know.
And I think that's what I've noticed, right? Like when I start to respond and you know, you've caught me in some moments like that, right? Like, you know, we'll all straight go into a spiral, right? Because of everything that's been going on in my life, right? And, you know, I've always been one to just brush it off, on to the next, got things to do. And that's really where it's been, it's crazy because I hadn't really thought about this since probably a month and a half ago when it happened. I felt the Lord was telling me on my drive to work, he said, the message I put inside you is not going anywhere.
Dang, dude.
But in order for it to be effective, I need to work on you.
You know, you've probably been telling yourself, and here, I'm gonna say that to me, I'm not even just gonna direct this to you. You're freaking out.
Right. I've been freaking out.
Mm.
And that's why with these different decisions, oh, should I do this? Should I leave my job? Should I pursue this? Should I do all of these different things? Right. And that's what I've done, dude. That's what I've done the last couple of years. Right. I've had multiple jobs. Right. I've chased to the next thing. Right. I've done these different things. Right. And it was kind of like what I was telling you the other night, right? To where it's like, you know, for me personally, right? One of the biggest accomplishments, you know, that I think I can do for myself within this next year is stay in my job for a year, right? That's a huge step. That may seem silly. That may seem stupid to some people, right? But to me internally, right? That's a, no, hey, you did this, right? This was hard, especially now because it is hard with my
Well,
community,
especially if you feel
with
like
everything, and it's just like, oh, why should I, you know? But then that, dude, and I think the more I've kind of spent some time just thinking about that and just allowing, and dude, it's like, it's incredible, right? When I think of it from that perspective, right? And allowing God to continue, you know, and that's kind of when, you know, we're like, what do you want to talk about today? It was just like, part of me was just like, oh no, we're good. Yeah, whatever you want to talk about. And I was like, healing. I'm like, okay. Oh, we're talking about what you want to talk about, healing. And it's just like healing, and you're like, oh, let's talk about that, you know? So it's just like,
what's important.
it's where I'm at.
Here's the thing. People, okay, especially as men, all right, we have a weird connection when it comes to healing. We do. Healing doesn't have to be this, like, healing is humbling. I was about to try to make it man it up, right? Healing is humbling. No, it doesn't mean that you quit on life. This is what I recommend. All right?
Healing is not
no,
healing is not giving up.
no, yeah. This is what I'd recommend for somebody out there, right? If they're listening, okay. So that's such a guy thing for us to go until we literally can't, and then we blow up, and then I'm gonna bring up some terms. People want to off themselves, right? People just like it becomes too much.
Right.
Because we don't do anything to release the pressures or to work on them. It just like we keep putting away in the closet until it's like, dude, I can't help it. Yeah.
Burst the door, you know, literally busts.
Here's what it is. It's scheduling time for it is a must. If you don't, there's maintenance involved with being a human being. That's the reality of it. We don't talk about it. Okay. Nobody teaches you it either. That's what's so funny. I love school. I love education. I love learning. For me, at times, sometimes I know the system is just so broken because we don't really teach practical things. It's just like, here's some things like, will I ever use this? Like, I love college because then it's like you get a little bit more about what you're
I'm using that Pythagorean theorem every day at work,
for sure.
dude.
Part stuff.
Just used it yesterday,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, yeah, but anyways, that's a whole different rabbit hole.
Right. It's next episode.
Yeah.
Pythagorean theorem and AI.
Well, no, let's. So if we were to talk about healing, right? What would we recommend to someone? You got to schedule time for it, and stop with this. Okay, there's a good state here. Let's break this down. There's a good state right now. If you're saying I don't have time for it, you're already making decisions from your fight or flight. Okay, let's play this game. All right, because I love this and this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I do for a living. Is like that coaching aspect. Like I just love it.
Right.
So here's the thing. Let's really get into it. So when it talks about that, think of the game you're playing. Okay, you are 100% consciousness. From that, you can make great decisions when you're in a peaceful state. Okay, why? Well, because you can activate each part of your brain individually, and it comes together collectively to make a great decision. Okay, you're conscious. Okay. That's why a lot of times when you watch somebody who's sentenced to court, like they're about to be sentenced to prison and stuff like that, like there's so much regret. And some of them is fake, right? But a lot of times it is real. And think of it this way. A lot of times when you make a bad decision, what you say afterwards, it's like, I don't know what I was thinking. You know why? Because you weren't.
Right.
There's if you're calm, okay, and you have a family to go back home to, okay, if someone cuts you off, You should be smart enough to go like, no, my family needs me. I don't know if this person is armed. I don't know how this could go. But I'm a father of two. I need to make a good decision and realize my pride's not worth me going home to my family. Having said that, I cannot tell you how many times if I allow anger in, I can't even think like that. So we don't train ourselves to associate things like that. We just think things happen. We're just like, well, that guy cut me off. I need to do something. It's like, no, David, wait. From what mentality are you making this decision off of? Are you fully conscious right now? No. I need to step away then. Breakups, right? I'm so emotional. I'm so this. You know what? We need to break up. Why? Because your brain is pushing you to make a decision. Not a good one, just a decision.
Right.
So the best thing you can do for yourself, for your family, for your relationships is put good boundaries in place so that we are actively, and this is an active decision, consciously going back to 100. Hey, Bev, I don't think this isn't personal. I don't think both you and I are fully present right now. And that's so funny. In my marriage, right? We did that, but it was by accident. We got in our word. We got in certain things. God had to start putting that in me where it's like, hey, are you, my inner language is, am I acting out of love?
Right.
That's my reset. Like setting up, that's like my safe word. It's okay, am I in love right now? It's like, no, I'm not. Okay, then I pull myself back. I go breathe. I go, hey, Bev, I'm sorry. You know what? I think I was still right, but I could see where I messed up.
So I want you to talk about that. Like I know you mentioned with the business, right? COVID was a great time, right? And you said something,
So funny.
right?
Dude,
You said for years, right? You were running, you were not doing anything. I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit, right? And you know where you were a little bit to where you are now, right? But what did that healing process look like for you? Like allowing God to heal you.
Well, first of all, I want to say this. Just because you have time doesn't mean you'll feel with that time. I want to make sure that's clear. Because I want to say it was like a year off, like of just being a person.
Just because you have time, what?
Just because you have time doesn't mean you'll heal. Right? Healing isn't going and watching TV for 8 hours a day. Right? Playing video games for 20, right? Like that's not what
That's numbing, right? So you can't numb and expect to heal.
Dude, I respect God. Here's the thing. Okay, we can talk about being a tough guy all we want. Okay, there's something about looking inwards. I respect every guy that does that. Let's be really real. Okay, who we are as people is we bring down anything we don't understand. Why? Because it threatens us. So any guy that goes out there and it's like, like it's I'm gonna say right. It's whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like that guy, macho, whatever type of talk. Dude, it's not. Because here's the thing that's so funny about that. You're like a guy that has a strong upper body but a weak lower body.
Right.
Because it's inner working on yourself, dude, that's hard. It's like lifting a weight because it's a lot of self-reflection. It's a lot of like ownership. It's a lot of, man, I went through a breakup, but what could have I done better? Not just, oh, she was dumb and she did this. It's like, no.
Right.
Where could have I done better?
Well, and so that's where I want you to, kind of talk a little bit about, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned, right, when, your marriage wasn't in a great spot right at that time. And then, you had those thoughts of like, well, she needs to, right? You were pointing the finger, but then, God had kind of spoken to you. He's like, what about you?
Mm.
And I think it was a healing process that you had to do, but also, I mean, it was a wake up, right? Like, oh.
Okay, so let's talk about that, right? I'm going to be trying to be as specific and stay to the question. So, quick backstory is I worked really hard for a while and then I got burnt out. I was in an industry that I could make a lot of money. So I stayed in it for probably about 4 months and I made honestly what people usually make in a year. Like I did very well and I was very thankful for that. But then I used that as an excuse for me to peel back and spend that time with family. That's what I said I was going to do. The reality was I was watching a lot of TV. I was playing a lot of games. I started streaming. I started doing other things. to make it seem like I was productive.
while being successful, right? Or this was
No.
after?
I made a lot of money. I basically summer break did, and I just stayed home. And like a year passed by. And next thing I know, because I wasn't in community, because I wasn't in a strong relationship with God, because I wasn't in all those things. See, sometimes when we talk about this behind the scene, we give ourselves the illusion of like, oh God, if only I had more time. Why are you lying? Why are you lying? Point out to me what you do with the time off that you do have, and understand you'll just do more of that. The arrow doesn't change directions just because it gets more space. It changes direction when it chooses to. If you're going this way, right, you're just going to keep going this way. So if you, for your hour off, play video games, you're going to just play more video games.
Right.
If you, for your hour off, get in the Word, that's what you use your time with, you're probably going to get more in your Word. What you do just doubles, okay? It triples. That's why, for example, one of the worst things you could do is somebody gets a lot of money when they have bad habits, because they're just going to do them to a much higher level. That's the truth, okay? So anyways, so I got all this time, I wasn't using it properly. Slowly as a person, I deteriorated, okay? I was home, but I wasn't spending time with my family. There's a big disconnect. Just because you're around doesn't mean that you're doing that. And I'm honest enough to say I wasn't. And hang out, but not like I'm present with my kids. You can be around your family for a year. One person can be around for a minute and they'll spend more time with your family because they're there. They're consciously, fully, my heart is here for you. So that happened. Then, to be honest, when I started the business, I never healed. I just it was just a thing. It just got me excited enough to take action. And then a big leap of faith came when we got suited and everything else. And obviously, you know that story. And then that brought a different side of me where I had to lean on God. And then my faith grew, but I didn't really properly heal. And then so I ended up selling the business. I imploded. Did very well, but still, I quit on myself. I wasn't mentally healed. Where the healing started, all right, I'm just going to make this very clear. The most healing I've ever gotten is spending that alone time with God. That's why it's so hard.
Right.
Here, let's really break this down. Okay, when you go spend alone time with God, to majority of people, it's terrifying. Here's why. Okay, you feel like you're going to get judged, or you feel like you're going to get told something you don't want to hear. Let's be real. Okay, we can say it's not because I have time. It's not because of this. It's like, no, it's because you inwards, you don't feel like you should be anywhere close to Him. So it terrifies you. But it's building a muscle, dude. It's a weight for guys listening out there. It's a weight that's got to be lifted.
Right.
It's feeling that and still doing it anyways.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, I like that you use that analogy, right? Because you don't just go in and you start repping, 4 plates, right? You got to start with the fives.
And maybe it's for 5 minutes, right? Like what we talked about.
Bro, maybe it's 5 seconds.
Just
I remember that for me. When especially, and I don't want to take away from, because I really want to hear, more about how God's like heals you, right? Yeah. But I remember, dude, I was literally there. I was digging myself down to the point where I literally broke. Clinical anxiety kicked in, panic attacks, you name it, bro. I was not taking care of myself.
The maintenance.
My body shut down. Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, I mean, you name it, right? Yeah. And it was through that. Yeah. Dude, I mean, I was in counseling, right? And we would talk about meditation and mindfulness, right? And we would talk about that, dude. I remember being in such a state where sitting still alone with my thoughts for 5 seconds felt like too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that same sense, right? That time with God, that prayer time, dude, it's a muscle, bro. And
like I said that.
Like you sit there but I think it's the heart posture, right? And understanding myself now, right? Because I've been to where, I couldn't sit still, right? And listen to it, and that's where the guided, there's meditation apps out there, right? That are biblically based. And dude, I'm a firm believer of those because it's a guided prayer type of thing because I know myself.
Yeah. Here's what I want to get very direct and what I'd recommend. Okay. So I'd go read my word, the Bible. Okay, I'm just really dry. Right? Specifically, probably like a lot of New Testament, maybe Proverbs, stuff like that, but a lot of New Testament, like Romans, Acts, stuff like that. And what I would do is I would sit in the word and marinate. That's what I started doing that was very different. Okay. If you leave chicken in seasoning for 2 minutes, chicken that's been left in it for 2 days tastes very different. See, a lot of times we get in our work, but we don't let the work get in us.
Right.
And so that made the biggest difference is I started making time. That's what's so funny when we start saying, I don't have time. It's not your time to give out, first of all. He gave it to you. You don't want time? You'll just take, like, it's just gone tomorrow. That's when you don't have time. Are you alive? We start living these lives that no one necessarily told us to live. It's like, dude, I have to work 15 jobs. Like, who told you to do that?
Right.
Well, then I can't live here. Okay, well then you have to live someone less nice. Like I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole. But like there's ways that you can try to find ways. So
there's ways that you can try to find ways.
So I appreciated what you were saying. As far as it's hard, dude, because it's all right. Let's make it easy for someone out there. It was hard for me.
Right.
Dude, at first it started 5 minutes and I couldn't consciously.
Well, that's what I want you to talk to, right?
Yeah,
because I know now you could go away for hours.
No. I want to make this a big deal.
And then even talking to me, it's like, hey man, we break that down.
I haven't done that, and probably it's now been like 4 weeks. Like I'll be real, like I'm not in the best place right now.
Right.
Like it's. Even now, I have to give myself that medicine and say, David, it's okay to go start with a little bit of time. Just go start.
Even the medicine, bro. That's exactly what it is. That's kind of what I was trying to. That's what I was kind of trying to get at yesterday or the other day when you and I were having that conversation. Giving yourself the grace.
Yes.
To understand, yes, you once were able to do it for probably 2 hours straight.
It's like it's working out. I love that analogy.
And using that now, just take, even if it's 5 seconds. Gotta give you this. There's an app, dude. Literally, because I'm an app guy, bro. Like we always have our phones on us. There's never an excuse, right? It's literally an app called Pause. This isn't a sponsorship. This isn't none of that, right?
We are sponsored by them. But
it's an app called Pause. And it literally has a minute to where it's just saying, I give everything and everyone to you, God. And it just repeats that for a minute. And then it takes, as you take a deep breath. Okay, that's good enough for now. Yeah. Because I remember, right, it's easy to get in your head. Well, no, the 15 minutes, 2 hours, 40 hours, like it's so easy, right? Especially in this healing process, right? Understanding that those little steps, and we understand the Lord takes you and he meets you on each step. God, I want to be healed on the other side of this divorce, right? I want to be healed and I want to be able to pour out into people. That's the rush, right? Because it's, maybe you've tapped into something that you really feel passionate about, but understanding you got to heal first. Taking that 1 minute.
So, yeah.
So that, I think it's, giving yourself the grace, right? I love how you said the medicine.
Yeah. To
know, okay, you've done that before. Now let's start back up again.
Yeah. Because I love visuals. I mean, I'm very visual. And so here's the thing to make this easy for someone, because we talk about it in between ourselves, but there's maintenance involved with being a human being.
Right.
With that said, here, let me help. There's categories that you need to look into. There's your mind. Okay. You got to take care of your mentality. Okay. There's your body. You got to take care of your body. Then also there's your spirit. The spirit and the mentality usually get worked together. They're not the same. They're not the same. Each one, though, it's a muscle. Okay. And I want to use this analogy because a lot of guys, I feel like, will connect to this. When you first work out, if you bring your buddy that hasn't been to the gym around, is he going to be able to do the same weights as somebody who's been doing it a long time now? No, we understand that though. Same thing it will be when you work on your mentality. You will want to lift the 120 pound dumbbells.
Right.
You'll be lucky to get the 5s.
Bro, that's so.
Same thing with your spirit, though. Same thing with that relationship with God. There's a lot of men that have strong bodies but weak spirits.
Right.
Bro, that's the
Well,
truth.
then there's a lot of men that have strong spirits, and then you're there with the weak spirit, and you're like, how am I going to get there, right? But dude, I
But
love
have a weak mentality.
that analogy of the gym is huge. Because how many times have you gone to a gym, right? There's gyms out here, right, that are
Yes.
pretty inexpensive.
Or you took a long time off and you can't lift the same weight no more.
Right. There's those gyms out there, right, that are cheap, so everybody gets them. And there's never a time in the day where they're not busy, right? So then you go there and there's so many people there, right? You have, the different types of people at the gym, right? And I know I've done this to myself. You show up there and you see this dude who's just freaking yoked, right? And you're like, you start comparing yourself to him, what he's doing, what he's lifting, the workouts he's doing, to maybe the stationary bike that you're doing, right? Because that was me,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're comparing your,
Yeah.
chapter 1.
And then you're trying to lift the weight they do and then you hurt yourself.
Right. You're comparing your chapter 1 and taking care of your physical physique
Right.
to his chapter 100. Who knows how long that dude's been lifting, right? And like things like that. But I think it takes that same approach.
Yeah, it is. Your
And your
mind, body,
mental,
spirit,
and your
it's
body.
a gym.
And your spirit.
Yeah, it's make this simple. Your mind, body, spirit. Here's the thing, right? When it comes to coaching and you meet with somebody and there's something off, those are the 3 categories you look for. Mind, body, spirit, right? And then relationships. We need people. That's also very important. But as far as personal maintenance, mind, body, spirit. And then understand you as a person need other people. Right. So here's where it gets funny. A lot of guys, the spirit here, it's your personal relationship with God. I'm gonna make it more specific. A lot of us are gonna be like, I'm gonna work on that. I'm not comfortable with just sitting in prayer and just kind of being okay. It's okay, dude. But a lot of us don't want to admit that we're weak, right? Because being weak as a man is not a good thing, right? Here's the thing, though: if you don't realize where you're at, you'll never get stronger. And I've also felt this way for a long time. Women are becoming bolder, which, first of all, I'm a fan. Let me say this, okay? I think it's kind of funny. Men are called to be the spiritual leaders of their home, okay? Like you are. I think kind of what's going on is like women are stepping up because they step in all areas. They're stepping up in some bad areas,
Right.
but also they're stepping up in others. And I'm not saying like that's wrong or anything else. Here's what I am saying though. It's life always finds a way to balance it. So when men are willing to take a step back, other people will take a step forward. I think instead of beating people up though, this is just saying like, man, let's step up. But it starts with the little things. Here, let's give actual help. Okay. Here's what growth looks like. It's take it at any level. Start small. Start stupid small. Start so small it's embarrassing not to start. Okay? It's that 5 seconds. It's that minute. It's that whatever. It's understand that I was able to get up to an hour. It's so funny. But it started with 5 minutes.
Dude, I remember days where like I would be so defeated. I only did 5 seconds, but I want to be at 5 hours.
Okay, that's what we were gonna say.
I only did 5 seconds.
Bro, it's 5 seconds more than you ever did. Do you understand that? Like, here's the thing. That's part of the mentality aspect, right? That mind, body, spirit, I think we need to work on. Understand that you need to celebrate small victories. It's such a basic thing. Here's what's so funny, dude. When you read books, when you get around coaches, it's always the same. It's like, celebrate the small victories, blah, blah, blah. But yet we refuse. Success has a track record. Right. You're just literally choosing to not be successful when you just accept, like, oh, well, like, that's just who I am. Or like, okay, that doesn't work. Beating yourself up and not celebrating those things is so foolish. Because here's the thing, right? I only did 5 seconds. Yeah, it's probably 5 seconds more than you did for the last 3 years.
Right.
Do Do you understand how big of a growth that would be as far
Right.
as like, that's like 1,000%. That's
Right.
10 million.
Right, that's a
More.
huge 5
That's
seconds.
exponential.
0 seconds to 5 seconds is a lot.
Dude, as somebody who goes in and does a push-up, it might have been a push-up more than what they could have done a year. Then the next day you try to do one again. Next you try to do 2, then 3, then 5, right? And then it's this scaling. We as men, we need to understand that that's the way it's going to be.
And understand it's a process.
Yeah.
You know, healing is very much a process.
It's
Right. And I mean, dude, it's been something that I've been, thinking more on this week, right? And it directly correlates, right? Mind, body, spirit, right? I mean, it directly correlates into, finances, right? I know for me, I've been trying to kind of hone in on my budget and tackle debt, right? It's easy to look at that mountain of debt and be like, what is this $5, the extra that I'm paying towards my debt, going to do to this mountain?
Right.
I've been trying to do that for years.
Yeah.
I've been trying, and comparing where you were and, just taking those little steps.
Yeah.
Right? Just chunking away at it. Right? I mean, I think it's just so important. So back on that topic of healing, right? When at that moment that you realized, right, it was the quiet time with God. It was it's the time away with Him.
Yeah, dude, I grew more in a month than I did 3-4 years. And I'm talking about some of those times that I've had coaching. I've been to events that cost $20,000-$25,000 to be a part of in a week. Like, I've looked at several avenues when it comes to healing. That alone time with God, bro, it was crazy. It was crazy. There was a lot of, man, dude, and a lot of the stuff that I've written from there is like, dude,
A lot of the stuff you've
like typed up, yeah, from those moments of just what I feel like God's like pouring in my heart. Oh, dude, it's like, yeah.
Dude, journaling, note
Oh, it's
taking,
been-
things like that has been incredible. Like,
Here, so for someone, I think specific instruction always helps, right? So for someone who hasn't done that before, like, here, let me just help. Okay, this was mine. Yours could look different, but I'm gonna give you specific instructions, and hopefully it helps. For me, I love that. I hate when someone's like, just go out there and spend time. It's like, what does that look like? So when I do dishes, is when I do this. Okay. So for me, God responds.
Up to that, bro.
Yeah. No, you. God responds to your heart. We kind of talked about posturing and stuff, but you making an effort. Like it's big. Okay. Go find a place you can go be alone. Ideally out of your home. And there's science behind this, and I'll even explain. Every time you step out of a place that you're not familiar with, it helps you. It activates certain parts of your brain because you have to be more conscious. So for me, I found a park that I could go sit and be alone for a little while. Here's what I recommend for someone who isn't familiar with that. Go read a Bible. I recommend a physical one, not your phone, because a phone can be distracting. There's nothing wrong with like Bible apps. I love them, right? Here's the thing though, if you're holding your phone, you might get impulses to do something else with it as well. Like you just don't use your phone for your Bible. That's not it. Use it to online, YouTube, all kinds of different things, and you're going to get tempted to get distracted.
Right.
So I recommend taking a physical Bible, okay, going alone away from your home if you can, because it's the effort. All right. Finding a place quiet, get in your word for maybe 5 minutes. Just go read 3 minutes, right? Then marinate on the words that you read.
Well, what
That's where
I'm
it's
sure you
starting
would
from.
agree with this too, right? Like, it could be just say a simple prayer prior.
Yes.
Right? God, allow this words,
Yes.
even if it's one verse,
Yes.
just I'm here,
Yeah. thank you for
proclaiming that
catching
you're giving this time, because it's
Yes.
easy to be like, okay, I read my Bible, boom, done.
Yeah. Okay. So let's break it down, right?
So you
Go
find a
make an
place,
active effort to be alone.
right, to be alone.
Pray. That was one of the biggest things I did. Here's what I would do. I'd pray to have a moldable heart.
Right.
Lord, I pray that the words I would read would sink into my soul. That's what I would say. Let this be a beautiful time, and I give this time to you. It's that declaration, dude.
Right.
It's so
I
small.
invite you. It could be simple, right?
Yeah,
I invite you into this moment.
Yep. Yes. I love that. And then go read. And a lot of times I've read before, but I'd always be rushed and go do something else. It was like, cool, I get that done. Now what's next? oh, that was a cool moment, and then I'd leave, right? It's the mixture of reading. Here's the only thing I would say, and I'm being very real about this. Okay, there's two different types of reading. There's reading to gain knowledge, and there's reading to gain relationship. A lot of people out there are reading to gain knowledge. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're reading out there, but you know the words, but they're not sinking into your heart, my friend, there is an issue here.
But understanding that takes time, because I know there's times where I read the Bible, right? You're reading verses, and like we're called to, if it doesn't, read it until it makes sense. Because I'm like, okay, great. What does that have to, it may not make sense every day, right? It may not make, the verses or whatever. Just we're called to have them written on our heart, right? And it takes time. It takes time to get them written on your heart.
It takes time, but it's a mixture of the heart being moldable, and obviously everyone learns differently. That's very important. But also it's the marinating. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Don't read. Okay, if you're studying for a test, you read a lot. Do you know what I'm saying? For me, I would read for 5 minutes, but I would dwell on it for 15. Before, I was reading for 20, 30, right? Just to read. Right. And if you can do that, that's great. But here's what I'm talking about. You have to be able to do that inward test and be actually realize is like, am I actually marinating in what I'm reading in? Or am I just reading it and I'm like, kind of like it brushes off like a duck's back, like water just right off the back.
Right.
So you're better off, in my opinion, reading for 5 minutes, praying on that. And okay, let me give more direction to help. For me, what I would do is I would go pray before, right? Moldable heart, go pray to be alone, go be alone. Obviously pray for him to meet me there. I'd get in the word and then I'd marinate it like 5-10 minutes, but then I'd marinate on it. And here's a really good, a great specific tool to use that I feel like could help out a lot. For me, what I did is I started looking over my life as if that part of the Bible was 100% truth. So I would play the game of, okay, if this is truth, how would it impact my life? I'd go through it like with a paintbrush or like with a highlighter through my whole life. Like, let's say the verse was like, do not fear, for I am your God, right? Like Isaiah 41:10, I want to say, right? Fear not, for I am your God. Like, let's say if that's what I was reading, I would sink and marinate in that word, and I would look back through my life where that wasn't the case and what I could do different. Like, I'd marinate in it, right? Okay, another thing, right? So here, when I was reading, I think it was in Romans, and I was looking at, it was talking about obviously how the church should be and the family is right. Kids respect your parents, parents, we usually stop there, but there's a whole thing for that. Kids respect your parents, but also parents do not lead your kids into like basically like temptation. Don't lead them to sin. Like, don't aggravate them. There's a whole thing with that. It's so funny. We don't really talk about that. But then also I was talking about how wives should treat their husbands and husbands should treat their wives. But then this is something I was like not even really being conscious of. It's not even for husbands to be loving your wife. It's specific as don't even be harsh to your wife. Right? And I was like, dang, dude. And so when I got to that verse, right afterwards, I sit and I just dwelled on that. And I looked back at my life and I looked, man, Lord, I've been messing up on that one. Because there's moments, right, where it's the love. Like, okay, am I acting in love? Like, I knew that before I knew that. But also at the same time, with that level of standards, like, man, don't even be harsh to my wife. Like, man, that's something I have not been doing. So then you marinate it. Read 5, marinate for 15. Specific instructions, right? Read 5, marinate for 15. And that marinating process, what it looks like is look at it throughout your life. If this was true, if it is truth, right? Which it is. But for me, that's the game I kind of play. Okay. I let my mind go to a state of like, okay, let's say if this is 100% truth, how would this change my life? And this is how. And then after that, I'd have a prayer. It was just like this moment where I would just kind of spend time with God. And sometimes I felt like God met me because like when I was making conscious effort to go out and meet him, there's a few times where I would hear something and it would just like, it hit. But there was a lot of times where it wasn't. And that's okay. Like, some people, like, that might not be the case where you don't feel anything, where you don't hear anything. But I feel like if you give yourself more opportunity.
Well, that's what it is, right? Like, it takes time, right? When I said read on it till it makes sense, right? It's not like, okay, I'm gonna read this verse 560 times this day.
No, dude.
Right?
There's atheists that know the Bible better than you.
Right? Daily, keep marinating on the word every day until it
Marinating, bro. That's what it is.
right. And that's kind of what I want to get to, right? Because I know there's people out there like me, right? Reading comprehension's always been something that's like, I've told you that, right? It's like, we're going to read this chapter, we're going to read this page. And then it's like, okay, tell me what you just read. And I'm like, aha, So, dude, that's where, if you're like that, right? And you're, it takes time, it takes a process, right? But there's study Bibles, dude. I'm a huge advocate of the study Bible.
It's like isolating a muscle.
Right.
Is when you marinate.
Right.
That's what it is.
But like for a study Bible, right? It doesn't give context on every verse, right?
It's very good though.
But it's good because it gives further context and it helps you. Okay, God, how can I boom? Right? Like it has helped me consciously. Like I read a verse, right? I don't have a specific example, right? But then it'll just give me some more context, and I'm like, okay, God, how have I been not this, right? How have I not been this?
Yeah.
And turning that back to Him, right? And yeah, so I love that. I'm glad. So what?
5 minutes 15.
5 minutes 15. Right?
It's specific instructions. I think people need that.
Right.
Because then if not,
5
it
minutes
becomes so distracting. Go be alone. Go pray for your heart to be moldable. Here's the thing that's so funny about a relationship with God, right? A lot of that time, He's not actually working on you. He's just working for your heart to be softened. It's so funny when we really look. The reason we're like, well, I haven't grown a lot as a person, and say, yeah, you've been uncoachable. When you're coachable, you sprout, dude. Right? Now it's staying in that, or even if you slow down, staying in growth is important. But our hearts just aren't moldable. So pray for your heart to be moldable and pray for Him to meet you there. He will. 5:15. If you do more than that, that's incredible. But the whole point of that is it's not about knowing the whole book of Isaiah. It's not about knowing. Here's the thing. There was a lot of people, right? Not to even throw dirt, but there's a lot of people in the old time that knew their Bible better than anybody. But when Jesus came and represented the Bible, they didn't know.
Right.
They're like, what is this? It's like, you know your word, but you don't even know who this is.
Right.
The hearts were hard. You'd rather know, in my personal opinion, 5 lines, but actually live off those lines than a person who knows the whole book but doesn't live off any of it. You're looking to make change, not just read something that's cool. 5 and 15 minutes of marinate. And the active tool that you could use to help you with that is look at it as if this was 100% truth. How would it impact my life? And actually go through your life and be like, okay, like let's say it's a specific verse about your family, right? It's like, dang, dude, have I been doing that? And have that self-reflection.
And it can be simple as, you're reading that verse and you're sitting there, for your 5 minutes reading, and then you're like, okay. And then 15 minutes goes, you're trying to kind of marinate on it, right?
Marinate, dude.
It's a simple, because I've had to do this, right? Because I'm sitting there staring at it. I'm like, help me understand this verse, God. How can I apply this to my life? What do you want to show me in this verse?
Yeah, and here, this is going to be
checking in with Him.
Yes.
Right, to allow Him. Okay, God, what does this mean?
Yes. Here's the thing I'll just say as well, and I think it's going to help some people. Honestly, this might frustrate some people, but I'm just going to be honest. I like reading first thing in the morning. Okay.
Me too.
Here's the thing, and this is what I like reading the first thing in the morning, but I like spending time with Him in the middle of my day. That marinating, here's what I'm talking about. Everyone might be different. For me personally, when I first wake up and I read, I can't explain. I'm not fully booted up.
Right. You're not. You're like, okay, God, I'm going to spend time with you.
Yeah, you're so high. yes.
Right, and you just
yeah. I'll be real.
Right.
So here's the thing. I like starting the day with prayer, bro, 100%. You know what I mean? Just start flipping on the switches and everything. But spending time together, if I were to spend the first 5-10 minutes of the day with my wife and be like, no, we do spend time. I'm trying just not to fall back asleep.
Right.
So
I love that you said that. Right. So
that's why I was like, dude, some people are gonna
spending time with him in the
I'm
day.
being honest.
Right.
Because here's the thing, a lot of people have, like, let's say godly men. There's nothing wrong, bro. I'm not shedding any blame on that time. Like, if that's all the time you're doing, dude, it's better than no. Okay, no time. But I'm being honest, when it comes to myself, I realize and I understand I have no issue reading in the morning. Okay? But it's not real for me. It's not, because I'm not fully booted up. So I'd rather the first thing I do, I go work out. I go pray, right? Quick prayer to get the day going and stuff like that. I go work out, I go do something. I go do something to wake myself up. Then I go spend that time.
Yeah, so that you're more attentive, so that you're more alert, right? It's
there's things that I need to be very cognitive of, right? Which conscious, be very present. Like working out, like I just kind of go and then my body warms up and then I do it. But if you spend 20 minutes of time with God and 17 of those minutes are just waking up, like, bro, it's like, it's not going to really be that great.
Right. So, well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's, I'm glad you said that.
Being honest.
Right. And so I want you, for you, right. I know it's been, I want to make sure this comes out right and reaches, so let's break that down, right? What that looks like for you as someone who in the line of work you're in, right? You work for yourself, right? So your time,
I'm able to do that.
Right. You're able to do that, right?
And that's the thing.
So what would you say? So for someone, right? So for someone, I'm in that kind of corporate, right? Like that 8 to 5, you wake up. I mean,
how would you do it?
So how would, so how would you suggest that? And I'll feed into that because I've lived that life and I've lived those checkpoints throughout the day that have been monumental in my faith.
Right.
So elaborate on that because I know there's a lot of people out there like that don't always have.
I would have to break it down into more than one time. And here's what I mean. There's nothing wrong with me reading first thing in the morning, especially at the Devo. I love it. Oh, that's spending time. Heck yeah, that's not bad. That's the main thing too. It's realizing that it's not saying that that's unuseful, but it's also realizing for me personally, that's not enough. Me personally, and that's the thing I want to make clear. Everyone might be different, but I do challenge you to try this. Okay, so here's what I would say. I would do morning Devo time, okay, or I would wake up early enough where I'd have like an hour or two to boot up before I do it. So I have to wake up at 5 now to do that. Okay, so what does that look like? First thing at 5 o'clock, I pray, but it's like a thank you prayer. Like I'm just being conscious and thanking God for giving me another day. Pray the day goes well, and I pray that I stay present with Him, right? But it's not like this long thing. I go work out and also too, we could talk about that because that's what I'm doing now is time management coaching. I used to go to the gym. Okay. I would waste 15 minutes driving there, 15 minutes driving back. And also during that time, I would realize I wasn't even really taking care of my body. Like I would work out for 30 minutes and it was a good workout, but then I go sit in the heat room for 30 minutes. Right.
Those of you that don't understand David's language, the heat room equals sauna. Play. I'm going to just make a dictionary. David's dictionary. And then just slowly. And
there's so many health benefits.
Sorry, I don't need to do
you're good. But there's so many health benefits, right? But when I really look at,
oh wow, I just worked out for 2 hours. It's like, what?
Exactly. So I wasn't using my time as best as possible. Right. So now I work at home. I have some weights here that I bought. Even if you don't, you still do push-ups. You could do a lot, okay? But it's about the effect, you just being present. I have a workout routine, and that takes me about 40, 45. So I wake up at 5, right? I'm done. Fully awake, fully woken up, like worked out by like 5:50. And I'm home with my shoes ready to go wherever I need to. That used to take me 2 hours before.
Right.
I took care of my body, right? The maintenance of all of being a human being, mind, body, spirit. Take care of my body.
Right.
Take care of my mindset a little bit with that quick prayer. Now, since I'm awake, I go spend that time with God before I go.
Right. Now that you're awake, alert, conscious.
I get in my car, I go to the park somewhere. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you could do it. The next thing I know, I'm done by 7 o'clock. Take a quick shower or however long your commute is or whatever, right? Or maybe I take a quick rinse, but there's ways where you can find time. For me personally, what I like doing is I like going. It could be in the backyard. It could be wherever. Like making it work. going and spending time alone in the Word and marinating in it. It could be in your car, but as soon as I'm done, what I like doing is I like taking a shower. After I do that, and I'll explain why. For me, I love even longer marinating in it.
After
I love that.
showering, after you've prayed,
After I go spend my alone time with God,
showering after that.
because it sinks in deeper, bro. That whole time is reflection time. I'm spiraling, bro. Like that's why that was so meaningful, is because it would have been like one message that got put on my heart, but it was sinking, dude. It was like walls were being broken down because I was reflecting on how it affected my whole life.
Right.
There was moments where I was being brought to tears, dude, because I was feeling his presence that much.
Right.
So
That's how you envision it, right? And so I know for me, very similar to that, right? Getting kind of that awake alert, waking up a little earlier, right? Especially if
or you do it in the late afternoon.
Or you do it later afternoon, right? So for me, right?
But I like doing it in the morning. I like doing it in the morning.
What it's looked like for me is like just starting your day, right? And there's an incredible resource. Like,
Yes.
again, I'm an app guy. I'm on Apple. Again, not sponsored, none of that. On Apple Podcasts, there's a thing called Morning Mindset. If you're struggling right now and you're like, oh, I don't have time, but you drive 15, 20 minutes to work, it's literally 5 minutes and it's geared to getting your mind right to set the tone of your day. Morning Mindset, right? And so I love that. I love the mornings, right? Starting the tone of your day. You could do this in the evening too if you need to, whatever. So, waking up a little earlier, right? Even if it's just 5 minutes, right? Just baby steps. And then for me, I love what you kind of said, right? Spending time with him throughout the day, right? For you, right? You have a little bit more control of your schedule during the day.
Yeah.
One.
And this is why. All right, so I love this, but it's such a double-edged sword, because when people are like, oh, you're an independent contractor, you work for yourself, right? Like, or you're running a business and stuff. I give God the time that I know I will have.
Right.
The only time that I know I will have that my kids aren't awake, that I'm not doing something, is the mornings. Sometimes in the afternoon, I'm meeting with clients. I'm running meetings. I'm talking about as late as 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night sometimes. Right. So because that's what's called variable time, right? Which it fluctuates. The time that is consistent, I have to use to do the maintenance.
Right. And so
and that might be time that's different for everyone.
Right.
You have to understand there's variable time, which fluctuates what you might have to do. And then there's consistent time. Here's the thing, dude. Someone could be like, oh, I never have that. That's
right.
Bro, we'll fight right now.
Right.
It's 3 a.m. Well, then guess what time you have to do it at? Like, I'll go when you start time managing coaching people and you break down 24 hours. Right. They're like, dude, I never have downtime. It's so funny because here's what the I'll say: 95% of people really don't, and then you have to do what's called a teardown, which is like we got to tear this down and build it back up. Okay, majority of people, that's not the case. 95% of people, and when you meet with them, they have time. They're just misplacing it.
Right. And so speaking, for sure, speaking from my experience, right, having lived that a little bit more structured, right, that 8 to 5, right, typically 30 to an hour, lunch, right, that could look like on your lunch break, right, stepping outside, right, taking that time to just really just unplug, right, once you've eaten, right, you're taking care, right, just doing it that way, right? I know for me,
that's what I was gonna say as well.
Honestly, man, it sounds silly, it sounds crazy, but honestly, man, like I've been in jobs where the only break I've had is to go to the bathroom. So I'm sitting there with my AirPods on, listening to a worship song, just pressing it. Hey, God, like checking in with Him throughout the day.
Yes.
And I've done that, because like I said, I've been in those jobs where you don't have that, you don't have that breaks or whatever. So being intentional with those, bro, I've even said like, okay, God, be with me on this call before I'm about to take this call, right? It's something as simple as that is checking in with Him throughout the day, right? It may not be, but bringing Him more into your day. And that's what I've loved. And it's crazy when you pray in the morning, right? And I've done this, I've not done this, right? To where, okay, God, you say your prayer, thank you for today, keep me safe, whatever your prayer is, right? And then if you think of it right, you say, okay, amen, right? What if you didn't say amen, right? And you just kept that prayer going throughout the day, right? Like, hey, God, thank you for waking me up this morning. Be with me. And it's just a continual conversation throughout the day.
Yeah, I love that. I just really don't want to lose that. There's such an illusion when we say we don't have that.
Right. And I'm not saying we don't have that. I'm just saying
No.
showing majority of the people out there that maybe don't have that schedule.
Dude, okay.
Right. And and I know you've made I know. I'm not I don't mean to touch that.
Yeah. So two things are right.
Right.
Yes, you're right in that. But also I want to say this, okay? Your schedule is because you allow it to be.
Right.
Okay. Let's play this game. All right. There's a lot of employers that if you tell them, hey, I'm gonna work twice as hard, I just need a 20-minute break, they'll do that. Dude, okay. You know what life has taught me? All right. So I started becoming bold at a young age. Okay, but it was a few moments that helped with my boldness. It's a muscle. All right. So when I was young, I was in shape, but I wasn't like incredible. When I was in high school, I was 17 years old. Okay. I funny enough, that was my first job ever, was at a gym. Okay. I applied through so many places. I rode my bike around just to apply. And everyone was telling me no. It's like 10 places no until finally I got a job. I got a job at a gym, working front desk. I loved it. It was like a dream. How could you not be happy about that? So I was there. Then I wanted to become a personal trainer. And then I don't know what, but I was like dialed in my relationship with my youth with God, dude. So it was all him. But what happened was when I was at the gym, I'll never forget, I want to be a personal trainer. So I went to, his name was Quan, great guy. He was the GM at the time. Walked up and I said, hey, what would it take for me to be a personal trainer? You need to get these things. You have to get all these certifications. And so I put him on the spot. And this is a tool that would have someone listen to and understand this is big in life. Okay. What it was this. So I said, okay, so you're telling me if I get these things, I can be a trainer. That's what you're telling me. He said, yeah, come back and get after you get those things, and then we'll talk. I said, okay, but Quan, you're going to give me an opportunity if I get these things. I'll do that. Okay, sounds good. I don't need to talk to you no more. It's a muscle, and what it is, it's, hey, okay, I have to have this. What do you need from me in order to get this? I have to have this. What do you need from me in order for me to get this? It's a fair exchange. Look, I'm going to ask something from you. What do you need from me? That's something that isn't taught, but it changes how you play life. So then it took me about 5 months. As soon as I was done school, I was going online classes, training hard to get these certificates, right? Got them. Ended up getting them in like 2-3 months. It's like 2 months. So, but I was like dialed in. First thing I woke up, studying. As soon as I got done school, studying. I was still in high school. I think I was like a senior at the time. And so I came back, wouldn't talk to him, didn't bring it up until I had my certificate. Printed it out, came to him, was like, here you go. When do I start? Started laughing at me. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you said. Well, David, it doesn't work that way. You're working front desk. I know, but you gave me your word. You gave me your word. I'll let you know. I was furious. I was about to quit. I was furious, so mad. But I was like, but I wouldn't let it go. I was like, Juan, you said I'd show up every day at work hard still, right? So I was like, but long story short, I put him on the spot. I was like, just give me a chance. 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 Okay. So here's what ended up happening. So then they gave me a chance. I'll never forget. When people would sign up for the membership, they get like 2 personal training sessions for free.
Right.
Okay. And then here's what happened. They gave me that. And when you're a trainer, there's a special book that's on the back and your name gets placed on it. My name was placed on it, but they only gave me 1 client and they had 2 free training sessions. And Quan warned me, after that, dude, you're probably going to have to keep working. You're going to have to keep working front desk and doing that.
They gave you the 2 free sessions?
Yeah, with somebody else. But here's the thing. I knew that they didn't want me to be a trainer, dude. I was still in high school. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I was in decent shape, but I wasn't huge. Like, I wasn't like, dude, at that gym, we had this guy took like 2nd place in like nationals for bodybuilding. There was like, dude, there's professional bodybuilders there, bro. And they looked the part. I was just some kid in high school. But as soon as they put my name on the book, you know what I knew? I was a trainer. I was a trainer. It didn't matter how many clients I had. I knew I was a trainer. So I went and I had these free clients, but during my off time, I would just go work the floor and I'd go give people tips. And so I was like, you know what, dude, you could really benefit I think if we put you through a week and I give you everything, it really down your workouts. Why don't we do that? I'll tell you what, if you do that, I'll give you like an additional free training session too. How much is it? Oh, it's this much. And I see you knew Quan, it was so funny. So the whole story, the quick version of it was he gave me 1 client for free. That's all it was. And then he came back a week later, I had 4 clients. And you know what I knew? Quan, you can't make me quit because I have clients now. He was pissed. He was like a mixture of happy and pissed. He's like, what the heck, dude? Like, I don't know what you want. Like, bad is bad? Bad. I brought the gym money. That's bad, right? It's like, no, I'm like, I don't know what to do now. Like, and I was like, I think we should look for someone else to work front desk because I'm not working there no more. So it took 2-3 weeks from that starting point until finally, like, I had to book a business where I had to find somebody else to replace my job, and it was really cool. And then what ended up happening was like, it was like this beautiful moment. And then the top guy there was like this really huge bodybuilder. And he was like, I bet you can't. He's like, he started talking trash. Long story short, I ended up becoming the top selling person there, but it was because I just worked. I just worked hard and I networked. That's it. The thing I want to get to is this. In that moment, I realized something and I learned life responds to desire. Don't tell me you don't have time. Show me how you're going to make it. It's not that I don't emotionally connect with people with that, but it's such a lie when we live our lives that way. Well, I can't do, well, okay, find a way. The brain is so powerful. When you give it something, it builds it. Okay. The brain builds, but it builds problems or solutions. But when you tell your brain, hey brain, we have to do this,
right,
find a way, your brain stops pointing out all the negative goes and it's like, well, I guess, I mean, technically, well, I never even thought about, but I mean, I'm in a sales position or I work hourly. I mean, I could start bringing in and start doing overtime if they start giving me an additional 30-minute break or whatever. Or if I offer to help a little bit more, you know, I could ask for something.
Well, and that's more so what I was getting at, right? Is understanding those that are in that confined, that there is time, right? That there is time that
you can make time.
You can make time for that and encourage you to make time.
Yeah.
Because
you have to realize how important it is.
It is very important. And once that starts to have an impact on your life, you'll get to that point.
And there's several ways. Yeah, right? Make the time in the morning. I'm tired. Bro, I'm exhausted. Trust me, I'm a night owl at heart. I want to say that. Dude, we bumped into each other and I told you, like, what time did you go to bed? 4 a.m. I see you at 5 and you're like, you haven't slept yet? I'm like, no.
Twitching. I'm like, you good, dog? No, yeah, I'm not saying what.
It's not my nature to go and wake up early.
Right.
But in order for me to succeed, right, it's needed. It goes against everything. If I get out of my schedule, it takes me like 10 days, bro, of like fighting and like my body fights, dude, like a horse that's being broken in. when I get back in a morning schedule, it's like, bro, like I'll have to fight it so much where like it won't fall asleep all night. Like I'll literally just lay in bed and for like 5-6 hours, I won't sleep. So I'll run on like 2-3 hours worth of sleep for like 2 days in a row. Right. And then finally I get so exhausted where my body's like, okay, fine, I guess we'll fall asleep whatever you say.
Dude, fun little fact, right? Like that. And I
it's
feel
not.
Like I want to use you as my subject. We try this out because we're doing like our retreats and stuff like that, right? That we have planned. So fun fact, right? I learned this because, you know, I worked at Mattress Firm, right? We went through so much training, sleep science, you name it, right? Fascinating. Right? When you're in such a disrupted state like that, I like how you said it takes you 10 days, right? That what they recommend, right? It's because your circadian rhythm's out of whack. Right?
Yep.
And so what they recommend...
What's the circadian rhythm?
So circadian rhythm...
What's like the quick...
It's like your internal clock.
Okay.
Right? So what they recommend is going out in nature, right? So you go camping to reset that.
Yep.
Because when the sun comes up, your body wakes up. When the sun goes down, your body goes to sleep.
Yep.
And you'll find it disrupts that, but it resets your circadian rhythm to a point to where it resets your sleeping. habits and your sleeping patterns. And so that's why I was like, because I know we have that retreat coming, right? We're going to be out in nature, right? And it's a little different, right? We'll be in like a cabin, but still, it because I know there's so many people out there, and that's topic. I mean, I'll talk about sleep till kingdom come. Like,
dude,
I know there's, like sleep when you're dead, and this is. I'm like,
no. You need sleep.
You don't sleep,
Science,
you're gonna die.
Science backs it. Okay, you're not.
You don't sleep, you're gonna recess sleep when you're dead sooner.
Dude, there's so many things.
Okay. I love
body,
sleep.
Body, mind, spirit, right?
Facts.
Here's the thing, though. This is one thing I want to say. I want to spend a minute and tell that person that's struggling, I love you. Like, I love you. And I hear you when you're saying, I don't have time. Nothing changes when nothing changes. So I'm not saying, I'm going to actually go out of my way and say, you are right. You don't have time.
Tell me.
You don't have time. You got to start making it, though. Like, there's a moment, okay, when you just get so tired and you're just like, I got to do something about this. And I hope that moment's for you today. Where, here's the thing that's so funny. When I started coaching on that side, you realize people always have a routine. You already have a routine. It's just a routine that's not serving you. The human body cannot run on just madness and just randomness. It doesn't. You without realizing it, that's why if you're in an abusive relationship, you get used to it. That's why if you're in a job that you hate, you complain all you want, but you still get used to it. Like, your unconscious mind is so powerful. You have programs, you have routines, you have them. They're just, a lot of times they're just crappy. Like, if you think you don't have one, you just have bad ones. That's why you don't even want to do a head count and look at them, right? Because you don't realize, like, man, I have these. So here's the one thing I want to tell you. You're perfectly capable of creating routines. Why? Because you've already done it. Right. But now you need to do it consciously. Now
we're creatures of habit, right?
Yes.
We've already
now you need to draw the line in the sand and go, today's a different day. I'm gonna do things different. I don't have time. Make time. When we break people's schedule down, it's fascinating. A lot of their time is spent on recovery, but they don't even count it as recovery. It's numbing. No. So they work long days, right? Get home, have to do some stuff around the home, then random stuff happens, and then they have some me time. But that me time, what's funny is it's like they'll drink, they'll watch TV, they'll do something, and they'll play games, they'll do something, but they'll almost do it over too much. So that way now they've taken hours away from the next day. They're almost in debt every day. Right. Their routine has them in debt for the next day instead of helping them for the next day.
That's your book, bro.
You start winning in life when you invest in your tomorrow. Why? Because as soon as you wake up, you're living in it. Stop being in debt for the next day. And here's what I would say, right? When you get with a coach in the beginning, it feels like you go in more debt. I'll explain. Because you almost like draw such a hard line. Like, for example, okay, when I started getting my life back in routine, sometimes when the room, in order to get cleaner, it first gets messier. Right. So I started making time. Like, I didn't have time. Like, I still had to go to work. I called out one day, right? Like, I just needed it. I started organizing my life. I started meal prepping. I started doing different things and routines. Right. That it started impacting. But here's, for those who are confused in what that looks like, start with something small.
Start with something small.
Don't feel like you have to change everything overnight.
Right.
Start with something small.
Right. And that's what I love. I love start with that.
And give yourself the reward as you do it.
Right. Because it's easy. It's easy to look at some, I know you've done a lot. You've put in a lot. You've invested in a lot in yourself, coaching, your time, you're restructuring it, right? And it seems, again, it's like that debt pile. It's like, how the heck am I going to pay this off? How the heck am I going to? It starts.
Oh, dude, and it's so beautiful, dude. And you got to be such a cheerleader when it comes to that. Like, it's so funny, bro. Like, you don't beat yourself up for the... Dude, the mentality is so important, because really what you're doing is, think of it this way, right? So your body does what you reward it to do.
Right.
That's how we do it. That's
Well,
why.
and that's one of the like scientifically,
Yes.
psychologically, that's what
Yes.
they do in counseling, right? You're
Yes.
giving like cognitive behavioral therapy. You're giving yourself
Rewards.
rewards.
Yeah, and it's you're fighting against core programs. It doesn't even make sense. You have to realize what your body needs, and you just give it more, and it responds better to positivity. If you get mad, let's say for example you haven't worked out in a long time, and the one thing you decide to change, right, is working out, but then you have this big old routine, and you could barely do 1/5 of it, 1/4
Right.
of it, and next thing you know, you're mad at yourself. You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna get so discouraged. You're gonna be like, no, I can't do this. When instead, just realize like, dude, I was happy. You know how I started my workout routines? It got so bad, bro. I got so bad out of shape that I would just put the video on for 45 minutes and I would do what I needed to. That's what I started with. Like, I want to make this very clear. That's how bad it was. But it was like, that was a win. I changed the scoreboard. At first, it was like, David, just do what you can. And sometimes I would work out. I was working out for like 10, 12 minutes and I would get so out of breath. I would like sit on the couch. But during that whole time, instead of beating myself up, I was like, dude, you're doing it. It's like, you're doing it. Good job. Great job. You're doing it. You're doing it. Good job. The next thing you know, I'd get back in for another like 10 minutes. And the next thing I know, I just watched the last 5 minutes. And at first it was so stupid, right? I was like, dude, this is so dumb. Like, what am I, that was the reason why you have to force the positivity is because you probably already trained the negativity so strong.
Right.
The wind already blows from
Well, the
that direction.
negativity is nuts. It's on like repeat. That's the
Right.
soundtrack of your life.
But that's the mentality,
You're
right?
not good enough. You're not doing enough. Do more.
You
do
got to
more,
work
not
on
enough.
it. Mind, body, spirit.
Right.
You got to work on the mentality. Okay. Then, but here's the thing though. After like a week of doing that, after like 2 weeks, bro, I started doing the whole routine. But it took time to get there.
Right.
It was like, honestly, it was like maybe even 3 weeks. Cause no, it was like 2 weeks of like their beginning course. Then I went up to like okay, this is the actual like intense workouts. Like it took me a while, but it started with small.
Right.
Dude, I want to share this story if that's cool.
Go for it, bro.
So there's this, oh man, this is by far for me the coolest story ever. Okay. I've been saving this one. So change doesn't have to be big. Change is usually small, right? We talk about that. To start with one thing, the small thing. So there was a reservation, okay, an animal reservation. There was a plot of land in the wilderness. Okay, this is happening in the United States, and I want to say it was like back in the 30s. I'll have to look up the story, but it's really cool. So they basically hunting was allowed there, and then they're like, hey, no, we're gonna make this into like a national park. You can't legally hunt here, okay? But before they did that, all the animals basically got hunted out. There used to be moose, there used to be wolves, there used to be beaver, there used to be all kinds of animals there. They just got like hunted out. Nothing lived there anymore. So the park said, okay, well, we don't have that big of a budget, so let's just start with one animal at a time. We'll go from there, like restoring it to what it could be. So they started with beavers. Okay. So they got a boy beaver and a girl beaver. Okay.
They met each other. They fell in love.
Yeah. And then they did a whole sitcom around. No, just kidding. No, but
Became baby beaver.
but think of it, right? They didn't have that much money. They didn't have the resources to bring all these animals back. So they just had to pick one. So they started with beavers. Beavers came back. And then obviously they did what beavers do. They got busy. And then they started having families. Okay. So after like 10, 15 years of this, like these were pretty big sized families. What happened was
10, 15 years of just beavers?
just beavers. It was just 10 years of beavers. Okay. Beavers started growing, started getting a decent population. The dams that they started building started affecting the currents of the rivers through these parks. It started slowing down the waters so much that fish were able to lay their eggs and populate at a much higher percentage. Because before, if the current was too strong, it was ripping these eggs up like they weren't, like 1 out of 100 was hatching. Now, like 90 out of 100. So the fish population boomed. Now, because there was more fish, right? Some of them were dying and the insects were eating them. Okay. Now, because there was more insects, birds started coming back because there was insects to feed them. Okay. Now, when the birds were traveling from far locations, they also started bringing seeds with them from areas that had different wildlife. So when these seeds brought back, they were accidentally laying them throughout the forest. Different plants started sprouting. Those different plants started feeding the bugs, started feeding the birds. Also, different plants started feeding other things. Okay, here's the thing that's so funny.
Bambi.
No, deer started coming back. Okay, and because deer started coming back, okay, all these things started happening. Here's the crazy thing about it. Wolves that hadn't been there for hundreds of years migrated back because now the ecosystem was able to support it. It all started with beavers. But the beavers created one change that changed everything. And so oftentimes we want to bring the wolves back. And that's usually how the story is told. It's how do I bring the wolves back? Bring back the beavers. And what it means is usually when you change, you want to change everything. Because think of it this way, right? And hopefully we can connect to this as people. How many times do you look at the change that you're about to do and say, no, it's too small? You have this big lofty goal, this big lofty vision, right? It's like, man, I want to start my own business. Okay, we'll start working out. And it's like,
Those don't even seem correlated.
right. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to start spending time with God. But like, God sometimes has you do something. God has you focus on beavers. And you're like, God, I want wolves. And he's like, I know you do. Right. Focus on beavers.
Right.
That seems so stupid, God. This is the thing too. How many times do you quit before the wolves can come back? How many times do you not focus on the one change and you want it to be immediate? See, here's the thing. Imagine if the park rangers, right, when they saw the beavers, they gave them like 2 months to bring the wolves back. What if they did that? Like, we're going to do beavers, but we're only going to do it if you can help with the wolves.
Right.
And they don't. And so you know what they say? They're like, screw these beavers. We're done with them.
Right. And they offer them. They're just like,
Yeah, I'm done with this. It didn't happen in my time.
if you were so focused on the wolves and you didn't see the small wins each time.
Or let me be more specific, right? You're going to spend alone time with God to fix your marriage. You're going to spend alone time with God just to focus on God. Let Him do the rest.
Right.
Stop making it about the wolves. Focus on the beavers. Focus on something small, but here's the one thing. It's consistency that changes the environment. If they would have brought beavers back, right, for 6 months or a year, and then took them out, everything would have been ruined.
Right.
It's because the ecosystem got used to the change. See, a lot of times we try to fix every aspect of our life when you have to understand that who you are emits a climate that certain things can grow under.
Right.
You want to be different. You want the things around you to be different. You have to change the temperature that you run at. Certain temperatures will allow certain, fruits to grow, certain plants. And so we don't usually look at it that way. We're like, oh man, I have a lot of people around me that don't respect me. Or like, or why is my wife so aggressive or something like that? It's like, okay, well, certain temperature allows certain plants or weeds or whatever to grow. Right. So if you change that, it either has two options. It either adapts or it dies. That's what happens to plants. That's what happens to everything around us. So the whole point about this is, right? Stop putting down the change that you're trying to do. It doesn't have to be 50 things. You'd rather pick one thing and be consistent with it so that way it changes the ecosystem. Stop making the change you're doing so invaluable. Right? Understand that there's a big part in this.
I think it was Craig Rochelle, like he talks a lot about it, and he's written some books on habits and things like that. Small habits lead to big change.
100%.
You brush your teeth for 2 minutes a day, you're gonna have white teeth.
Right. Could be working out, could be getting up earlier, but pick one thing, but let it be the anchor. The anchor.
Make it a habit.
That like, I'm doing this for the smile life.
Make it a habit.
Yeah. It could be working out. It could be whatever, right? It could be spending that alone time with God. It could be, hey, come hell or high water, I'm spending 20 minutes with God. I'm doing 5 minutes, right? Where I get in my word, and 15 minutes where I meditate. And watch what happens when you do that. See, a lot of times the reason why the wolves didn't come home is because you pulled the beavers out within a few months.
Too soon.
You need the environment to do
I
it.
think that's like a perfect way to like leave it with a question, right? Like end it on a question and we'll pray it out. But what's your beaver? I know for me, right now, because I'm glad you used that analogy, right? God, I want to be a business owner. It's like, okay, start by looking out. What? That's what me, right? I know you and I have been talking, right? We've visioned, we've this. I want to be a business owner, right? I want these things. I want to get at it. I want all of these things. And God's like, let's heal. I'm like, God, just not hear that. Like,
Right.
now let's heal. Doesn't necessarily mean we're taking stuff back.
Right.
And something that I felt like in that moment, right? And I don't want this to get blown out of context. Sometimes slowing down is the move you need to take to move forward. Because if you're sprinting at such a high speed, but you're not, you're going to trip. You're going to fall. And as soon as you trip and fall, you're done. Your race is done. You quit. And that's exactly what it is for me. And so I know for me right now, my beaver, bro, I'm going to throw that on the wall. Beaver, bro. Just jump. Tattoo a beaver.
It's powerful.
And
it's such a real representation.
That's I love that. Like it, and you could like.
They didn't have to, dude. That's what's so funny about that story. They didn't have to focus on the wolves. The wolves came back when the environment changed. Right. See, a lot of times what you're trying to do, right, is we force the wolves to come home. But then they leave. And you're like, what happened? You didn't create the environment that would keep it. So you just drop ships and wolves.
So what's your beaver right now?
Waking up early. That's what it is. It's so funny, right? But it's getting my schedule right. And not making it so heavy. Here's the thing, right? Waking up early and working out the first thing I do. That's it. This is the advice I would give somebody. This is what I do. Like, I'm passionate about this. Don't start wrapping up other things. See, this is the key to that story, okay? If you focus on the beavers, but you're like, oh, but the birds aren't coming back, you're going to start beating yourself up. And so many times we do that in life. So many times we're oh, well, I'm going to focus on this and it's going to do this, it's going to do this. It's good. No. Just let this be. Focus on the beavers. That's all they did, bro. They took care of these beavers. They gave them monthly checkups, right? They tagged them. They scouted them. They didn't, when they started noticing the birds were coming back, they're like, that's weird. Anyways, back to
this
these beavers.
documentary or is this like a study?
It's a study. Yeah.
I feel like there's been a documentary, dude.
Oh, bro,
I watch this now.
Dude, isn't it incredible?
Staring at it.
But it makes so much sense too. All they did was make sure these beavers were kept alive. When the moose came back, right? When the deer came back, they weren't like, we got to take care of these deers. They didn't have the funds. That was so funny. They didn't have the money to take care of these different animals. So they're like, dang, this is cool. But I got to do this one thing. We don't have the budget. I'm sure they asked, like, hey, we're starting to get these birds back. Hey, we're starting to get all this. Can we get more money? And no, you got beavers to take care of. That's it. And I'm sure it was upsetting to them. But here's what's so funny. The beavers ended up being the pillar that everything else was being built up by. That's what it was. And so sometimes you want to take care of so many things in your life where you just need to pick a pillar and build off it. And for me, right? For me, it's right now it's focusing on my health. Because if I do that, honestly, my confidence, I could play that game where I could see the things or I could just let it happen.
Yeah, and for me, it's focusing on the healing.
That's it.
So that's what I want to encourage you guys. What's your beaver? What has to happen? What's that next step? Could be a small step.
But it big ripples.
Big ripples. That's that. I love that you said that because that literally, when you were just talking about the ecosystem,
it changes,
can sustain it now. That's exactly what I thought. That ripple effect.
Yeah.
Right. What can 5 minutes of prayer time a day have what ripple effect can 5 minutes a day have on your life?
Yeah.
On the people around
you think yourself to death. That's what happens because you're like, well, it should be doing this. It should be that. No, just let it be a thing. Just let it be a thing. Just take care of, for me, for the rest of my life, I want to wake up early. Okay, then just do that.
Just wake up.
That's it. It's.
I don't want to do it for the rest of life. Just wake up. Early,
one thing at a time. And reward yourself. Hey, you did good. Hey, even for example, if you're waking up at 9 a.m. right now or 8, and for you, the big move is 7. Like eventually you want to get to 5, right?
Right.
But you wake up at 7:45. Bro, that's a win.
Right.
That's a win.
Early
If it's working out and you went for a walk and before you haven't, that's a win.
Right.
Dude, you have to understand your brain does what you reward it to do. So reward it. Stop beating yourself up. Like you gotta imagine if they went out there and they started beating the crap out of these beavers. They're like, "You're not bringing the wolves back." They're like, "I'm sorry, I just know how to be a beaver." Oh,
I'm just supporting a family of 50.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
a
like,
beaver.
dude, just let it be. Just one thing at a time. One thing at a time. And yeah, it's a cool story, right?
I love that story.
Oh, dude,
It's
one of my
watch a
favorite.
documentary on beavers now.
Yeah, it's such a trip, but you
Should
can
make a
literally
shirt.
see it happen
You should
too.
make a shirt that says "Build that dam."
I love it. Yeah, no, it's one thing, but it has huge ripples. And so many times we want to change everything. We want it to be right, just like I said, that healing for me when God fixed my marriage. He told me to fix. It's so funny because I wanted this. He's like, you got to fix yourself first, and I didn't see the correlation.
Why? No.
We've talked about that where it's like it didn't make sense.
Right.
Lord, I'm telling you to fix my wife. He's like, I know, but I want you to fix you.
Right.
Like Lord, I want the wolves. I know. Work on the beavers. It's like on the beavers.
Start with the beavers.
It doesn't seem like it'll fit, but it does. So yeah, you want to pray it up?
Absolutely. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for bringing us in. And thank you for this opportunity just to have a platform like this and to use it for you, to use it for your glory. We just pray right now, on the topic of healing, and we just pray for the strength, the encouragement, and the discipline, required to take those steps of healing. And we just pray for those out there listening right now, who may be struggling and wondering like what's next and what's that next step is, and you feel so buried by the thought of your end goal or where you want to be, that you can't even see that step. Just pray that you soften their hearts and that you reveal that step, and not let the enemy throw lies that's going to diminish that step. Help them to look to you each step of the way. And it's in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I love that. And thank you for watching, first of all. I feel like we always say that. But also, I wanted to kind of share this. We want to get, I'm sure you feel the same way, like to personally know our audience. And so we haven't been doing a good job of this, but if you somehow been here still watching this, if you could put in the comment section, like, what do you feel like your beaver is? Like, we want to know. We want to be praying for you. I want to make sure. So right now, if you're looking at it, like, just type in the comments. Like, maybe it was something that was also impactful on the podcast, like something that really stood out to you. Like, we love hearing from you guys. Like, I don't know. It's just such a big thing.
I know this will get David's blood boiling, but if you comment, "I don't have time," that'll fire him up, and he'll be.
Your mouth is powerful, dude.
Yeah,
It's a gift
that'll
given
get-
to you by
that'll
God.
get going.
You're gonna speak it. It's
But
gonna happen.
it's already starting to pull. I don't have time.
No, you know what's so funny?
What's my beaver?
Why are you doing this to me, bro? It's the truth, but you gotta make it though. You could be telling the truth, but you just gotta make it. There could be two truths. There's the truth of what it is and the truth of what the possibility is. Both of them exist in the same place.
See what I did right there? Comment now, and you'll get this reaction every time.
Stop, dude. I'm just gonna be like punching my pillow.
Also, what you'll see, in addition to the intro, we got our outro now.
Yes.
So check out, the different videos that'll be kind of on there, as we continue these, topics and episodes. But for now, we appreciate those tuning in. Like, subscribe, hit that notification, follow us on TikTok.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you
so
guys.
much.
And until next time, we will see you guys
Until
then.
next time.
See ya.